and welcome to the BigCeaz Show. This is episode 11. That's right, episode 11. And on this episode of the BigCeaz Show, we are joined by none other than former NHL forward and enforcer, Nick Tarnasky, from dropping the gloves and chasing his hockey dream across the globe. Nick shares what it really takes to battle through the highs, the lows of being a pro hockey athlete. So you won't want to miss this. I'd like to introduce you to the one and only Nick Tarnasky. Hope you guys enjoy. And we are here with the one and only Nick Tarnasky, former Florida Panther and Tampa Bay Lightning. How's it going, Nick?
I'm doing well. Thank you. Appreciate you having me on.
Thanks for coming on the BigCeaz Show. Man, it's been a crazy last few weeks for you, hasn't it?
Yeah, unfortunately, chain of events kind of escalated there online and turned into kind of a bit of a circus. So, been a lot. Heard from a lot of people, touched base with a lot of people, caught up with a lot of people. So, all in all, kind of turned out good to kind of relive some of the glory days with some of the boys.
Awesome, man. And I know you kind of want to put it to bed, and I don't want to get too much into the fight, but Sierra, do you have a question on for Nick here?
Yeah, I just wanted to see how are you doing now? If things has the dust settled, are you kind of cooling down after all that?
Yeah, I think so. I feel like it's that Coldplay thing comes out, and then obviously the three unfortunate celebrity deaths this week. So
That sucks. Yeah.
it's the internet, right? It's one thing's cool for 2 3 days, and it's like just like a kid in Toys R Us. You see a toy, and then you see a cooler toy or a more important toy. So it's kind of like I've said along the way, everybody kind of had a good laugh, kind of enjoyed a stupid video there for a couple weeks, and then something else happens that everybody's more interested in. It's great. It was kind of a thing to enjoy and move on from. So it's been fine. Last couple days have been a lot quieter, and everybody's kind of moved on from it. It seems so. Yeah, it's been pretty good to kind of let it get put by me in the dust a bit.
Nice,
Good.
nice. That's good. And for those of the people that are watching the Big C show, Nick Tarnasky is a former Florida Panther player who was drafted by the Tampa Bay Lightning. Let's kind of go back a little bit before you were playing in the NHL. Kind of get to know Nick Tarnasky. Tell us a little bit about you, where you're from, and uh, what. How did you end up playing hockey? How did you end up getting the love for the sport?
Yeah, so I'm from Rocky Mountain House, Alberta. Just a small town, like 5 6,000 people. Kind of central Alberta, west central Alberta, I guess I should say. So, pretty nice little town. Great place to grow up. Great place to be a hockey player. It's really all in the 80s and 90s. It's really all there was in town. So, like you go to the rink, you go to the oval, you go to the outdoor rink. Every little group of houses had an old basketball court that would be flooded over, and then my dad always made sure we had one in the back that was always flooded with boards and nets. So at an early age, he understood that I loved the game, and he gave me every opportunity to basically excel at my own pace. If I wanted to go out and shoot, there was always an opportunity. There was always net. There was always pucks. There was always sticks. There was always a light. So growing up in Rocky, yeah, I just kind of started shooting pucks, loving shooting pucks, and just never really stopped shooting pucks till I mean, I'm still shooting pucks, just I'm showing kids how to shoot them now versus trying to put them through a goalie. So
That's awesome. And I kind of want to get to how you talked about it on the Spin Chicklets with Biz and how you use roller hockey to improve your skills and how talk about how roller hockey helped you playing in the NHL or in the junior league or in general
yes,
in hockey.
yeah. So I maybe I'm off base with it, but I mean I feel like in those days, like I never really went to the gyms. I'd go rollerblade around. Like we had a bike path around town, so I'd hit the bike paths for hours every night, and you basically go and train on your rollerblades and just emulate the stride. Um, Brad Stewart, Stanley Cup champion from town, we'd have roller hockey at the rinks in Rocky, and we'd be there I think it was Tuesdays and Thursdays. Like he and I and anybody else that wanted to be playing junior, he was playing for the Hitmen at that time, and we'd be there always playing, always practicing, always trying to get better. And then I played in a competitive roller hockey for like 2 or 3 years, and it's like exactly one of those things. Like you're always you're always working on your hands. You're always working on the hand-eye coordination. You're always, I mean, right, that's hockey, is trying to do more than one thing at once and become the best at doing it. So if you can skate and handle the puck and shoot and see, you're doing pretty good. So yeah, like roller hockey, rollerblading is a good opportunity to get in shape and obviously work on the skills that you can when the ice is out in a small town.
So growing up in juniors, you said on Spin Chicklets with Biz that you didn't really necessarily um, train to become a professional hockey player until maybe what, 18, 19? Talk
Yeah.
about that moment where you decided that, okay, maybe this is a career that I might be able to do.
Yeah, so it's one of those things when you're coming out of minor hockey, and in those days too, it wasn't like every town didn't have like 15 uh, camps, right? Every player didn't have a skills coach. Every player didn't have an academy. Every player didn't have all these A, B's, and C's that I feel like every kid now growing up in minor hockey has. They've got everything at their fingertips instead of just going out and playing the game. So I just felt at that time like I'm going to go play the game and didn't really focus on doing the extra stuff. So yeah, 17-year-old junior season, I think I maybe worked out like 6 times and still made the team, but like not in good enough shape, not in nearly enough. Like, you skated, you did your workouts on the ice, but I didn't work out off the ice, wasn't in good enough shape to actually be an impact player in the West Hockey League, which then going home, played junior A, understood where kind of what those older junior A players are doing. I'm like, okay, like that might be an opportunity here for me to learn. Then yeah, I got serious that summer with a personal trainer in Calgary, worked on your nutrition kind of. And like I've said before, you have to understand why you're doing it. It's easy to tell someone to do something, but in those days I didn't understand why, and obviously didn't understand what the outcome would be. So it was good to learn from people that were, I worked a lot with Martin Gellin a ton and Haley Wickenheiser a ton in
Right.
my late junior years and early pro years. So they were fantastic athletes in those days, and like Martin Gellin, also a former Panther that I think anybody that would still see him this league can still play the game now. Like one of the probably, besides like Rinda Moore, the top shape players to ever play the game. So
Right.
got to spend a lot of time with him, worked out with him, and we always pushed each other. So as that progressed in juniors and then into a draft year and that stuff, you understood why you're doing it and what more you need to do, what you shouldn't eat, how you need to behave off the ice, on the ice, what you can't. Like it all goes hand in hand with becoming a professional. And when you learn, the working out and the discipline and being on time and how to eat, getting to bed, and it's all stuff you learn from people and help, mom and dad putting you in an opportunity to learn from those people. And then those people being good mentors to you and making sure that what they're doing is good for the younger group and to make sure that everybody grows together. So for me, yeah, it was a big step, and it was a really good opportunity right from 18 till 33 of always learning from somebody else and always doing something different to try to do better.
Yeah, being from Central Alberta, who is your favorite hockey team to watch in the NHL?
The Lightning.
Oh,
Nice.
okay.
Okay, I was not expecting
I
that.
was we were kind of arguing here before you got on. Who I kind of picked Calgary. Sierra thought you might have been an Edmonton fan, so that's pretty interesting. Tampa Bay. It does that have to do anything with them drafting you, or
Yeah, 100%. I mean, I love watching McDavid, but my heart's always with the Lightning. My daughter was born in Tampa, so
awesome?
Tampa ultimately became a second home for me, kind of forever. I've got tons of friends from the community, so I can't jump ship on them. Even though I ended up playing for Nashville and Florida along the way, and tons of minor league teams and exhibition with several NHL teams. I think for me, my heart always kind of belongs to the team that got me first, and I always had
Yeah.
good experiences and always a great fan base there.
Yeah, that makes total sense. Do you have things that you missed or hated or loved about Florida and Tampa?
I mean, I loved everything about Tampa.
Mm,
Now I think it's gotten really busy, but in those early
yeah.
2000s, and same with Sunrise, right? It's gotten so busy now that I wish people could understand how great it really was in 2005, 2006 to
Yep.
playing in the Lightning, and they're still fresh off a cup win, which there was a great buzz. But you could still walk around town and drive around town without any traffic and without the whole glitz and glam. Now it's kind of like
Oh yeah.
it's ultimately both parts of that of Tampa and South Florida are like junior Miami's, right? So it's the whole growth of hockey, which is fantastic. But I loved it when I played there, and it was quiet and small and that hometown feel. So I kind of miss that. But I mean, going back, my daughter still lives in she lives in Fort Myers, so I'm there all the time, and it's always great to catch up with people. There's never a person that doesn't pick up the phone when I'm there. So still love that about Florida. Obviously, the golf is unbelievable in Florida, and
Yeah.
I really, it's hard to say a bad thing about a place that's ultimately become my second home, both coasts of the, my best friend Chris Moody lives right there in Coral
Right.
Springs. That was the equipment manager with me with the Panthers. So it's always going to be a home for me, and there's always, you can't make fun of it or can't chirp it because it's always somebody else's home that's important to me. So it's always a great place. To do miss it, but it's also nice being home and having a little bit more moderate climate here in the summer. And obviously, being the hockey families, we love the winter, so it's pretty tough to complain about that too.
Right. And the last 6 years, I mean, Florida has hosted the Stanley Cup Finals, so they can't call us losers anymore, right?
No way.
Awesome. So, kind of go back a little bit, Nick. How have your parents been such a big impact in your life to making you the person that you are, or how have they helped you growing up playing hockey?
Yeah, so like they always, it was never pushed, right? It was what you want to do, and we'll support what you want to do. If you want to, we'll rent the ice at 5 if you want to go, So I'm gonna get the ice, but then we're going. So it was nice. We always had the rink in the backyard. We always had the opportunity. Like I have two brothers, two sisters. That everybody played. So mom and dad didn't have any free time. They donated anything they had to us. Every dollar they had went to hockey. Every single tank of gas went to the rink. Like you can't, and I think that's, you've heard it from a lot of players when they get the opportunity to thank their parents, that those parents ultimately sacrifice the rest of their life for the kids to chase out their goals. So for me, that was everything that my parents did, was literally sacrifice everything, make sure I had all the top gear, all the top sticks. Didn't I worked once in a while growing up, but it wasn't like I had to go to work and didn't have the opportunity to train. They paid for the training, paid for the gas to get to the training. They literally gave me everything I could ask for on a template, and all I had to do was put in the work. So pretty cool that I was fortunate enough to have a family at home that was able to provide that for me, and kind of just those footsteps to, okay, here's your shoe, put it on. And it wasn't, there wasn't ever a yelling, and never, and there was never any disappointment. It's like, hey, if you didn't put the effort in, Nick, that was your own fault. It's not,
Right.
well, I paid for training and you didn't work hard enough. It was like, you didn't work hard enough. You don't get the benefit. So it was tough lessons versus anger. And it was always awesome to kind of make sure that I knew what mom and dad were sacrificing to make sure I had an opportunity to get to the next levels. So it always made me a lot more conscious of putting in the effort to make sure that, like, hey, dad's probably wearing the same shoes he's had for 4 years, so I can go and train this summer. I better get my ass there on time, and I better work my ass off to make sure that, hey, he's sacrificing, I need to sacrifice because it's what he is allowing me to do. So it was a great way to grow up. I mean, I think that any hockey parent deserves nothing but pats on the back and praise, because just being a softball parent now, you understand a little bit of what goes into the sports, and hockey is, it has to be one of the tougher sports to try and watch your kid grow at and financially support your kid at. And mom and dad were always there, always had the time to, my dad would always be out there passing pucks, always flooding rinks, all that
That's
stuff.
great.
That there was never a dirty sheet of ice in the backyard in the winter, because he didn't even come in for dinner, right? He went out and
I love
flooded the
it.
rink so that when I got out after dinner in -30, it was already hard and ready to go. So awesome, way to grow up in Rocky Mountain House, and couldn't thank my parents more for the effort they put in and the support I had growing up.
So, your parents or your dad actually made a rink in your backyard?
Oh yeah, full
That is
boards, two nets. It was unbelievable. Like it was probably, it would have been about 80 feet by like 25, 30 feet.
would the
So
neighborhood kids like come over and want to play with you guys?
yeah, we always hosted games and hosted
That's so awesome.
tournaments, and We put up a floodlight, and eventually the neighbors were starting to phone at 10:30 at night saying, like, can you tell the boys to go to bed because we're trying to sleep. They're thinking there's gunshots in the neighborhood, but just
That's
us
so
taking
great.
slap shots. So no, it was awesome. We always, every year you had the rink, you kind of looked forward to it. Now I look the opposite. I can't wait for golf season. And in those days, like, you couldn't wait for Halloween to get over so that it was going to be freezing time and you'd get your rink in the backyard and start fiddling and working on your game.
That's awesome. How many broken windows?
Oh shit. Luckily for we the rink we got was out of the way, but I remember I put one through my dad's picture window and in the front of the house, and I kind of pawned that off like I didn't know. And he's like, Nick, any idea what happened to that window? It wasn't like that yesterday. Nope. And then eventually I had to admit to it, and like, okay, well, I think I'll probably be digging ditches here for a couple of summers to pay that back, but no, not too bad. Two or three, and I guess the garage doors, they always took a beating, and the drywall, we actually had an unfinished basement there for a couple of years, so the drywall got destroyed down there. But it's just those things. Like, my dad didn't care. He was a construction worker, builds houses, ultimately just build everything. So if I break something, he would just fix it. He'd teach me how to fix it so that when
Right.
it's happening again, I can go fix it myself.
That's so awesome. That kind of reminds me of my family. My dad was always a handyman. So anytime me and my brother would break something around the house, he'd be like, get your asses over here. You're going to learn how to fix this. So that's a perfect example of what my parents did as well. So that's pretty cool to hear. How competitive were you and your brother growing up?
So my older brother was a goalie, so it was perfect.
Oh,
So
cool.
I'd force him to get in the net, and I'd go and shoot pucks. So we'd always play games. So it was a great way to learn how to score on a goalie. My dad had built us the wooden shooter tutors and that for the other net. But then once my brother got older, I had a full time goalie at home too. So that obviously didn't hurt.
Who holds the all time in wins, you or your brother? Do you guys keep tabs?
I think it. I think it'd probably be him, but that's only because 10 goals is a lot harder to get than 10 saves.
That is true. That is true. Any particular bets that you guys made that you guys would have, like any embarrassing bets you guys made against each other?
Yeah, we'd bet like for cutting the lawn or doing the weed eating or taking out the trash, or we do, I just like silly things like, just, play one on one for who does the dishes or just silly stuff like that. Nothing serious, nothing too crazy to write home about, but just fun stuff that there'd always be a series. And then whoever lost game 3 would always make it a game 5. And it would always be one more game. So no, it was just good old fashioned fun. Nobody had cell phones. Nobody had like iPods, and it was just literally outside playing, being kids. So just good old fashioned fun.
I kind of miss those days. I tell a lot of people all the time. It's like I miss going out in the neighborhoods and just watching kids play sports and just being outside. I remember my parents used to always tell me, "Go outside, go get into trouble, but not in too much trouble," right? And I feel like this generation doesn't really know too much about that with our technology. So it's kind of cool to hear from you on how it was growing up back then in the day. So yeah, that's something I really miss as well. Um, let's kind of go into getting drafted by the Tampa Bay Lightning. Talk about that moment. I know you said on with with Spin Chicklets that you weren't really expecting to get drafted. You did see your name on the card. How was that moment being drafted by the Tampa Bay Lightning?
Yeah, so ultimately, like I'd said, is like I thought it was a joke at first, and then as time went on, the Lightning head scout did call me, so I thought, okay, this is pretty legit. Like, and it was cool because I think the moment meant more to mom and dad that their boy got drafted versus I was kind of thinking, okay, like ninth round. And like when Brad Stewart got drafted from my hometown, he went third overall, right behind Vinny and Dave Langlois. And it's kind of like, okay, it's such a different draft story because you're probably going to make the team the next year. I still got to make my junior team. So it was, it was rewarding. It felt cool. They treated me just like they treated the first rounders. They sent out a jersey and the bag and the hat and did all the welcome calls and everything kind of as the week went on. So it was really cool. I thought it was obviously even to this day, I think it's got to be one of the most first class organization in sports. So they treated all of us well that got drafted and brought us into Traverse City that summer. So it was a good, like, it's really hard to describe because it's also part of that feeling where you didn't really think you're getting drafted. I think I was, I think I said to Biz, I was kind of in that 160, 180th North American. So you don't really know the central scouting, how that works at that time. Like, there's not going to be 360 kids drafted. So you kind of need something to change to get into that first 300. And even at that, like at 300, you're like the last ones. And like, I'm pretty sure there were teams that had passed previous to my pick. So it's still cool, but it doesn't really sink in because it seems like such a long shot that you'd still like, yes, it's maybe the first step in moving forward from junior, but you're also, it's seemingly 100 steps behind from those first round kids, those second round kids that were so touted. And obviously now the teams are going to pay more attention to. And that was, I think, the best part about getting drafted with the Lightning was they're merit based. And I got the opportunity, not because of where I was drafted, but because of the effort you put in after the draft to jump the sixth rounder, to jump the second rounder, to jump those players. I don't think there was a first rounder that year, but you got what you earned, and whatever you worked and put yourself, you got exactly what you put in from that organization. There was never you're a ninth round, we just took you because we had an extra pick. It was nothing like that. And I think looking back on it, like, it was surreal and it was a very cool accomplishment, but I think getting drafted by that team at that time with their mentality, it couldn't have worked out perfect for me any other way. They just treated you so good for your effort and your attitude, and ultimately, like, I believe that's kind of getting drafted by the Lightning, even those late rounds. That's why I got to play, because they let me earn it versus a ninth rounder that just always was looked to the side. So definitely pretty cool. I'm so thankful that it was them, the staff, the group we had at those times. Like, it's something you can never replace. And people always kind of say, stars align, and it ultimately it aligned for me in those years, and something I always get to be proud of and kind of look back on, especially having a daughter now. She gets to go to Lightning games once in a while, and she's super proud to wear my jersey to the rink. And my daddy got to play here, and it's not because I was drafted first overall. It's because I got drafted and
And you
earned a
worked your
way,
way,
found and
right?
found a way to get there, because there were people that let you work your way. So pretty cool. Obviously something I'll never forget about. So
That's
Yeah.
awesome.
That is remarkable, and Tampa Bay Lightning is truly a world class organization. We've based our franchise of what we want to look like off of Tampa Bay Lightning, so we always have to give credit to them for sure.
Especially, we wanted to be the standard that Tampa Bay was, winning the first Florida or Stanley Cup in Florida. When Matthew Tkachuk came to Florida 3 years ago, he even said, I hate Edmonton, but I hate Tampa Bay more, because he wanted to be that standard, right? And I think we needed to set the bar high, and in order for us to win a championship team or be a championship team, we needed to be just like Tampa. So that's awesome. And kind of going into here real quick, Nick, how was playing in junior, or how was your first year in development camp in Tampa? Describe that moment, just hitting the ice, being drafted by Tampa. How did that feel, like being able to be like, hey man, I'm living a dream. I can't believe I'm here.
yeah, so we didn't even do, like, it's so long ago, there wasn't even development camps, or
Oh,
else.
okay.
Like, our first camp, the first time I got to interact with anybody from the organization in person was actually rookie camp, and I think they still do it. It was in Traverse City, and there was us, Detroit, I think it was Atlanta, Washington, and it was all the young kids that went, and you just played tournament. Like, you did a tournament. It was unbelievable because you didn't, we were all nervous. We've never been to a camp before, and the Lightning actually didn't have a farm system at that time either. So there wasn't like a group of AHL kids that we got to kind of learn from. It was all of us coming from junior. Nobody had any pro experience. A few of the teams had even a guy or two that played NHL games that were 18, 19. So it was kind of just feast or famine. Like you go there, you show up like, hey, none of us knew what was going on. So it was kind of just, hey, go be yourself, do the best you can. And like I said, like Nigel Crone and Jeff Reese were there on the bench. They were the head coaches for the development camp, and then the staff kind of just watched from the crowd. So and like I don't even think Torts is there because he was getting ready for the main camp in Tampa. So we were with a lot of the help staff, the trainers there. Jim Pickard was there from the Islanders days. He was unbelievable, getting the gear all sorted out and that kind of stuff. So you got to meet some really cool people, but it was just you come, you do the best you can, and you show why you're here. It was so much fun, and I don't know any kids. I don't know. I hope they do get to have that much fun because there was no pressure whatsoever. It was a camp, but it was a tournament when we had. I mean, I was with one of my best friends there, Blake Robson, that was on a tryout, and so we flew there together and got to go to this together and kind of figure it out and meet, the Mike Egners and those other guys that were drafted that I kind of knew from the Western League, and we kind of all just went through it together. So it was awesome. We had the best time. Like the tournament format that they had in those days, it just took so much pressure away from you from squeezing your stick in a practice with John Tortorella staring at you. You didn't have to worry about that at 18, 19 years old. You enjoyed a tournament. You had team dinners. It was like a little junior team that went and played a tournament, and you got to know the boys real quick. They didn't make anything weird. It was just go meet your teammates, try the gear on, and go play a tournament. Like just go play hockey. There was one practice and a tournament. Like there was no fitness testing, no bullshit stuff, that you just went and played. And it was so enjoyable that I honestly couldn't wait. And I didn't go to main camp that year, but I could not wait to go the next year back to Traverse City and do that all again because it was so fun and such a great way to meet people and see like a beautiful city and enjoy kind of the next level without being stressed out to the point where, you've actually lost the ability to show what you can do because you're so nervous, because there was no reason to be nervous because it's just two great guys behind the bench just saying go play. So yeah, my first experience was probably one of the better experiences that anybody ever might have as a first time on the ice with a Lightning jersey or any NHL jersey, because it was so relaxed and it was literally just go and play. And for a person like myself in that kind of that lower end prospect role, you couldn't have asked for a better setup.
Unbelievable. That's great to hear, especially, being drafted, you don't have all that pressure on you, and just being able to just have fun, play the game that you love. And I think ultimately that's what you want, especially, being in the NHL. You want to make that jump, but you also want to do it in a way where there's not so much pressure.
Oh, I think that's awesome. I was just thinking how even now throughout the playoffs, they'll say like, we just need to play our game. We just need to play. Like that is what it comes down to. So I think it's really cool that was your first experience doing it. And I just want to know too, what is one of your favorite memories of your time in the NHL with whoever that may be?
I mean, that rookie party in Calgary was by far one of the best times. Pretty tough to put a cap on that, but I mean, honestly, like playing for Florida, we had such a great group there too. One of the best times I think was actually a Super Bowl party, and I think we were in Raleigh, North Carolina, and we watched the Super Bowl at a restaurant, and then we all went bowling after. And I swear it was the best bowling game I've ever been a part of. It was me, Thomas Vokoun, Brian Allen,
man.
Brian McCabe, and Scott Clemenson and Nathan Horton, and it was like I think it was like $200 a pin or something, and like nobody could
No
miss.
way.
Like I swear
No
we all
way.
shot like 300s. It was the greatest thing ever. Like you couldn't emulate it. It's like $200 a pin, but at the end, like nobody won anything because it was like everybody shot like 288 or something crazy. Like it was just that was one of my best times. It was the whole group. Everybody was like watching. Everybody was like watching an episode from what's that? What's the Bill Murray movie there? It was like watching that. Everybody was just ripping strikes and everybody was cheering. That was one of the best times we had. The staff was there, everybody was there, and everybody was just ripping strikes, having the best time. That's probably one of the best memories I have, definitely from playing with Florida. Even with Florida too, you had like Corey Stillman and guys like that around the room that he was one of the better ones that would take us young guys, me, Anthony Stewart, Nathan Horton. We'd always go for dinner with him and just talk about growing up and hearing from a guy that had won a couple of cups, how his experiences, kind of what he had done. So aside from like the off ice kind of antics and having a good time once in a while with the fellas, like the good dinners with great people there. The Keith Ballards, the Nick Boyntons, like we had such a great group there of people to play with that it's hard to say one or two good memories because even though we weren't as successful as we all wanted to be as a team, like
Yeah.
I got to go to spring training with Jay Bowmeister, stuff like that, where that's just
It's
cool
amazing.
memories, and you always you see those guys around, and you always have a good memory. You can always shake hands and have a good laugh because you did have some good times. Yes, unsuccessful, unfortunately. However, it didn't stop us from being good people and making good memories and creating good relationships.
That's so great. That's why I love the hockey. The hockey community is just so amazing. It's second to none. The hockey players in general, the families, the fans, everybody is just, you know, they really gather around the community and they really have a great time, and it's really awesome to see, especially with me this year, with Matthew Kachuk bring me in to 11 getting waterboarded or even being part of the parade and stuff just shows how amazing the hockey community is. And you being a player and playing with Nathan Horton and Jay Bowmister and all these players, like, who was your favorite all-time Panther teammate? If I don't mean to put you on the spot there.
I think all-time favorite Anthony Stewart, Nathan Horton, but by far my favorite too. We had the
Awesome.
best times. Yeah, they were great.
Any
We were
any
similar
particular
age, so
any particular moment that you guys had that you want to share with us? Favorite
uh
memory moment?
me and Horty were big into the poker on the plane. So
That's
we
awesome.
we had a lot of fun battles with the poker, and both of us are terrible players. Just have bigger balls than the other guys. So um, we had a ton of fun. Scott Clemenson, Brian McKay, and me, Horty. It was always a blast on the plane. So those two guys still, touch base with Stewie once in a while, every couple of weeks, make sure everything's going good. I know he's really big in the community there in Ontario for the minor hockey and the inclusion and all that stuff. So it's great to see him being a big ambassador to the sport, even after the great career he had. So. Um, yeah, those guys are great. I mean, it's hard to say a bad thing about any of my teammates with Florida. It was, Stephen Weiss was great. He was an awesome player too. Yeah, like Brian Allen was a fantastic teammate. There's so many guys that still keep in touch once in a while, and you see him, and it's great to run into him. And Jay Bo is one of the better players at the time in the league, and you never have a clue, how fantastic of a hockey player, how great this guy was because he just treated everybody the same. So it's another one of those experiences where everybody was so good that you just can't. It's hard to pick a guy, but those two definitely two of my best buddies.
Who's a better golfer?
Out of who?
Out of all your Florida teammates or Lightning or any teammate that you've ever had, who's a better golfer?
Uh, I think Brad Richards is a pretty good golfer. I believe Keith Ballard's a pretty good golfer. Um, Vinny LeCalvier, a pretty good golfer. Those guys that get to kind of play at the little bit nicer courses, they tend to somehow be pretty good golfers. So Vaclav
Federer,
Crossbow
pretty good
actually
too.
nasty golfer.
Really? Okay, okay. Um, that's awesome, man. That's. How do you which one of your coaches or teammates had a big influence in your career in the NHL?
I think it'd be Torts for sure. Um, it's one of those guys like everybody in the world knows him, and he demands like he demands it. Well, how do you put it? Like he gets you to do things that he knows you're capable of because he understands how it works, and he gets results. And it was stressful at times, but if you put the work in and you made sure you did the video, you did the workouts, you listened, you're tentative, you're prepared, you're on time. He was willing to work with you and demanded what you could give every day. Like you didn't get a night off with Torts or you'd sit. Like and he held everybody accountable the same way. He'd scratch Rustin Fedotenko. He didn't care. He scratched Brad Richards, I think, in New York. Like he didn't care if you weren't pulling
Yeah.
your weight. You were made an example of, and that happened to me once in a while in Tampa. But I would, like I've said, you go fight that night, you block shots that night, you get pucks out that night, you get pucks deep that night, you're rewarded. So it was always he treated me more than fairly. And like I've said about that organization, they allowed me to earn everything I got. And he was unbelievable for my success and for my, ultimately to me to be in that league at that time. And he was very patient. I mean, hard, but patient. And it was hard for me to play for other coaches after that, because I missed having those eyes staring at me, knowing
Mm.
exactly what he wanted me to do and how was he going to make me do it, but in a positive way. So he's one of the, he has to be one of the best coaches of all time, in my opinion. And he knows the game. He's prepared for the game. He understands the change of the game. Um, he was great for me. He was great for all of us young guys there, just to kind of show, especially with that NHL, or sorry, with that Stanley Cup group there, with all those Hall of Famers or future Hall of Famers. It was great to have him, to make sure that I was held accountable for the way I was acting, for the way I was practicing, the way I was preparing. You really couldn't take it off. You couldn't miss a day. You couldn't be unprepared. You watch what you eat, watch what you say, watch what you do, and learn to be a pro. He was by far the best.
That's great to hear, because there's a lot of negativity sometimes towards Torts and how he coaches, especially in this generation. I don't feel like he gets enough credit of what he's done in the NHL, right? And I think he's such a great coach, like Paul Maurice. Like, he demands the best out of you. Like, if you don't do your job, you're not going to expect to be in the lineup. And I
No.
think that's one thing that I truly respect Torts for, and I have a lot of respect for him and Paul Maurice. So that's awesome.
Yeah, I guess kind of starting to transition outside of your time in the NHL and hockey in general. Are there like quirks or habits or things that you picked up or traditions that you did then that you still kind of hold on to now?
So just kind of going hand in hand with Torts, and like I talked about on Spittin' Chicks there with Mark Habscheid. So Mark Habscheid prepared me to play for Torts.
That's
Not
awesome.
on purpose, but it was perfect. And then, so for me, my biggest habit is being on time. I
Mhm.
don't. I'm never late. I always have my things. I'm always prepared. I'm not packing before, like, everything's at the door. We're ready to go at, if a tea time's at 9:12, I'm not showing up at 9:13. We're there, 9 o'clock, loaded up, waiting. You're not packing your golf bag. You're not packing up your whatever you're bringing, your towels and your markers and your balls and your tees. That's all ready. Don't forget your shoes. Like, I have no patience with tediacy and
That's
being late.
awesome.
So my little girl is 13, and I'm having a hard time learning how to be like, hey, you need 45 more minutes than me, so I need to have some patience. So just kind of, building off of that, I'm very time motivated and understanding time management, just because of playing for those high end coaches and being expected always be prepared, always on time. So that's like one of my biggest pet peeves, is being late and being tedious. So patience isn't also my virtue. I'm trying to learn how to adapt. So, when my little girl's doing her hair, I obviously don't do my hair. So we need to learn time management with her. So give yourself 45 more minutes. If I need 7 minutes and you need 52, you be ready 52 minutes before I'm getting ready, so that we can leave at the same time. So no, that was just kind of one of the things. It's, not like it's military, but it was one of those things that the best habits, I think, are always being prepared and always being on time.
That's so
Super
great.
disciplined. I'm sure your daughter is like, Dad, but it's great for her too to learn, honestly. I mean, it's a sign of respect. It's having it all together. So that's great that it's held on for so long and now you'll pass it on to your kids too.
Yeah.
That's awesome. What's something that you're deeply invested in these days, whether it's family, business, hobbies, playing golf? What are you doing now?
Yeah, I mean, golf, like, I don't have my daughter full time, so don't get to be as invested in that as I'd like to be. Um, so when I have my free time, like, I'm golfing, especially with the short golf season here in Canada. I'm golfing 5, 6 times a week. So I can, kind of build on that craft. Not that I'm thinking it's going to be a new career, but just with the fellas, you always want to be the best golfer in the group. So I try to kind of work on that craft and work on the golf game as much as I can and enjoy the outdoors. Yeah, that's kind of the main. I go to work, I sell cars, but when I'm done at work, like, I cannot wait to get to the course. Obviously if there's not an activity with the little ones. So that's definitely one of my passions, kind of one of the things I'm invested in by most days of the week.
How has hockey impacted your life?
Like it's been, like I said, just learning the time management, the respect, interacting with others. Like throughout a 13-year career, I don't even know if I put a number on how many players and staff. Like that has to be close to 1,000 throughout, the minor leagues, and being on two teams in a year has to be 1,000 or more people. You've got dentists, and the best part of hockey is meeting people and having the network of friends and family that are involved. Tons of my friends in Tampa and in Florida still, like I golf with them every summer. I don't go a time in Florida without reaching out to 5 or 6 buddies and making sure we do something, whether it's a dinner or just grab a beer, go hack it up. It's having people in your life that you've met through the game. Walking through Walmart and Red Deer, I'll probably run into one of my teammates that I've either played with or coached. Like you go to the golf course, somebody. Like there is the network of right. Hockey's such a small world that you always know somebody. There's always somebody that needs help or can give help. It's that, to me, the family aspect of hockey and the community, the group, the people. There's always something going on. Hockey tournaments, raising money for charities. Everybody's always giving back. I think that's the biggest impact for me is that personal aspect and that group aspect, that you're never alone. There's always somebody that, I mean, even you, I haven't ever met you, but this is a great chat, right? We met through hockey, both
Yeah.
of you guys, right? So, meeting people, hanging out with people, helping people, being helped from people, mentoring people. Mom and dad got to watch how many NHL games live because of hockey and me being involved in hockey. Brothers and sisters, everybody got something, memories, stories, meeting, Vinny LeCavalier for the first time. It's all because of hockey, right? And so it's a little bit magnified when you actually get to play in the NHL and get to kind of be a B-lister amongst those A-listers. But it's definitely, that to me, that's the best part. And when you get a text message from Brad Richards one day, it always feels pretty good to have him reaching out, right? And someone like that, or a Brian McCabe, or anybody that's pretty cool person, obviously accomplished a ton, and they're still people and still your friend. Like that, the friendships and the memories and the just the group of people, that's by far the best part of it.
It really is. It's something that I really enjoy about the hockey community, and just being able to spend time with the Spittin' Chicklets crew, Paul Bisnet, you know, RA. In my interview with RA last week was so incredible. He's such a great guy. Getting to know him off the ice and knowing his story, and how he had to take some time off, and he talking about how the hockey community's been there for him and how his family's always been there for him. It truly shows a lot of what we go through sometimes. And for you guys as well, I kind of wanted to talk about how, with everything that comes in recent years with CTE and mental health struggles, how do you see, or how do you take that role, or how do you think that role is compared with you now, to when you played back in the day?
Yeah, I mean, it looked like he was being phased out, and then it kind of got brought back, and like you still got like the Revos and the Rempes and those guys that are still like that Delorier, like there's still guys that are fighting like unbelievable fights. McElrath, like those guys those are not any different from the fights we used to have back in the 80s, 90s, early 2000s. And like you look at those guys fighting and the size of those guys and the shape they're in versus the guys in like the Proberts, and those guys are nails, scary, tough fighters. But now you got guys 6'8" that are shredded fighting each other. Like,
Oh,
so I mean, the role is still very prominent in the game. Um, and it's good to see it. I think there's always going to be a place for it. The CTE stuff, something sort of not something I kind of try to avoid that topic, just because
okay.
you never really know.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's also one of those things. You can watch the Aaron Hernandez documentary, and you can freak yourself out about it, and it could be from hockey, it could be from something else.
Yeah.
Um,
Okay.
I just if you look at how many people used to get in like brawls at school in the 80s and 90s at young ages, undeveloped brains, it could be a very similar situation, but you just really don't know. So I don't know enough about it to say, but I don't really like to talk about it just because it was part of my role, and you just really never know. I wouldn't change a single thing from the way I played. I think it was a very honorable way to play the game, and there was a role and time and place for it. So I think it's great that you see those big boys still doing it.
Yeah,
That Lombard kid, he had a couple of great years for Florida, and
love it.
he nails little nail gun, right? So it's a very prominent role. It's a thankless role, but like you always hear the guys saying, it's how that affects the group, and you can't, you really can't describe those feelings of having a big fight and having the boys go nuts. Um, Regardless of kind of how the future holds, it's just something you just never know. So you kind of just have to embrace it. And I'm glad it's still kind of shaking its way back to the game, and those big boys are still able to be part of the game and do that role and do a hell of a good job at it.
And no, I totally agree. I think that's something that been lost a little bit here in the last couple of years. But I think with Florida winning the Stanley Cup the last 2 years, you kind of see that they have those type of players. The Gadjevich, the Greers, last year with Lombard, right? So, it's always good to see those players are still in it. How do you fit yourself mentally being on the fourth line, knowing that you have one thing to do, and that's to hype up the team, or you're gonna have to, like, there's a moment in time on the game that you have to go out there and you have to fight that guy just to turn the game around. How do you mentally prepare yourself for that?
Yeah, it's you pretty much think about it all day.
Yeah.
Probably thought about it the night before. Like I said, like the Konopka ones, we knew we're fighting, just kind of when. Um, you also look down the lineup, and there's like a Colton Orr over there where you're just like dreading like having to line up with him, because if he wants to go, it's like, oh man, like okay, but I'm not loving this because it's those guys were so tough that like I couldn't really compete with them in those days. But there's some good fights we had, but you try to prepare. I don't even know if you can prepare, because every fight's different. You can slip, you can fall, you can get caught. I mean, you just mentally, I would always just kind of think about it. It's like jumping off a diving board for me. You're nervous, and at some point you just got to dive in, right? So just like, okay, you want to go? Okay, 1, 2, 3, let's go off, and then you just kind of get lost in the moment. And then my fights were never real long, so never really had that chance. Like it always happened so fast for me that you didn't really have a chance to be too scared in the moment. And then just kind of throw hands and see if hopefully do good and get the boys riled up. And even like I've said, like even if you lose, the confidence built from a lost fight is still better than pussyfooting around being afraid to get involved. It always built confidence, always got the boys going. Um, it's one of those things. I don't think you can really teach that emotion. It's either you can do it or you can't. Um, and if you're able to do it, yeah, you dive in with both feet and you just square off and go. So um, I'm glad I don't have to think about it most days anymore, because there were some days that like those days going into the Spectrum in Philly, boy, you
Ooh,
had those tough three guys, and you knew you were fighting
especially
one of them, and you had to sit there all day being like, "Frick, am I getting Coates, or am I getting Eager? Who am I getting?" Right? And then I remember, okay, I got Gratz, great. So no, you can't. It's just part of it. You can do it or you don't. And I was fortunate enough that I did have support. Like my dad would support it. My mom hated it, but
I can
dad helped
imagine.
out just mentally to be prepared. And obviously, you always have another buddy or two that you can talk about it. And like that Chris Moody there, I'd always talk with him about the fights, and we'd watch the videos together. Like, how can I do better? Like, but just had to be prepared and be ready to go pretty much every day.
That's great. And talk about how, like, that first fight that you were ever in, like, you must have been like, did you know before the game started that this was going to be the moment that you started the fight, or did it just happen?
On my very first fight, I think it just kind of came out of nowhere. Barely even remember it. It was like it was when I was 17. So that one I barely remember. Then I remember playing junior A was like my second ever fight, and I like got kind of jumped by their tough guy and like absolutely beat the wheels off him, like busted his face all apart. And
That's
the guys were
awesome.
like, "Whoa, like what was that?" And I was like, I honestly didn't even. It was another like I ended up with a broken nose, but like I don't think he was in playoffs and he never played again that series. I don't know why. I'm not sure if he could. Like, but it was one that was a good coming to Jesus moment. And then those those fights like I talked about with Habscheid, where it's kind of like, yeah, like I know I'm capable of it, but I was trying to think that I was a player and not having to get involved. And he just said, said, hey, you need to find that way. And that was definitely the way. And it's the feeling like it's indescribable how that changes your mindset and confidence just by getting involved physically in the game. And like win or lose those fights, I didn't care. It was going to change my mentality and my emotion towards being a better hockey player and having a more confident base and being more productive and being a better part of the team. So yeah, it's just those days, like those first couple fights, like you really don't know what you're doing. And I don't even think I ever saw a video of them because I don't even think we had video at the game. So I'm not even sure how they went or what happened, but the emotion and the memory will stick with me forever.
That's great. That's great. And kind of go into like you playing in the KHL. You said on Spin Checklist that was probably one of the best moments of your career. Talk about how being in Russia, getting to be like one of the main guys, getting to be, I guess you were known as like a celebrity hockey player in Russia. Talk about that moment.
Yeah, it was like I said, I can't say a bad thing about that community, that team. I understand it was a little different with the fighting and the the kind of the antics that we were kind of getting up to. But like I said, the way we were treated there, and my dad came. We sit, you sit down in the one of the three restaurants we have in town, and there's automatically a bottle of wine pops on the table, and like someone's just waving at you, and no one ever wanted anything back. They never wanted anything. They just wanted to do some like a nice gesture for us visiting the community. Um, like walking around town, people just hopping out of cars to shake your hand, hop back. Like, they didn't want pictures or anything. They just hopped out to say hello. You go and in the grocery store, and we had like a BlackBerry that we try to do to translate on and to show the people in Russian, and then they'd come and walk around the grocery store with us and find stuff, and like
That's so
they treated you
awesome.
so good. And I guess and they probably treated any people the same way, but just being like these Vitas, Chekhov, like kind of I guess somewhat celebs around town where there was only I think there was only like 8 or 10,000 people there, so we stuck out, and we're always the four of us are kind of always traveling together around town. So you always had the opportunity to run into one or more of us at the same time, and people were just so cool, always like high fiving or the someone and their their daughter, the mom would always kind of give you a hug, and like you just felt like honestly it felt like being a Rocky Mountain house, like where
Aw.
you know everybody, like it's your neighbor, where the people are just so cool to you and they just treat you so good. And it was a you walk by the outdoor rink and all the kids just stop and everyone just waves when we're walking by, and it's just they treated you so cool and they made you feel so good about yourself that it was nice to give back to that community and kind of be part of that for the year. It was very cool. Obviously another unforgettable memory that I got to be through, and have a great 1 year kind of stint as part of my 13, my only overseas year. And I'm glad it was that one because there was a ton of good memories, ton of good laughs, like especially with that group of guys that we had just a blast. And again, like one of those kind of stars aligning moments. Like you really couldn't ask for a better situation for me personally, to play with other tough guys and with Panarin and these other young skilled Russians. And yes, again, unsuccessful, but learned a lot and made good relationship with great people. So um, yeah, it's just another one of those ones where it's hard to bad talk a losing year because of so much positives that came from it.
That's
You have
great.
so much unique experience. It is so cool. And to hear as like just a hockey fan who doesn't necessarily know the ins and outs of the KHL and whatever, it's really special to get to hear more about what that was like for you. So thank you for sharing that. And do you take all of your expertise and are you mentoring and coaching and sharing that with others now?
Yeah, so I coach local here in Red Deer, U17 AAA. This will be my second year with the organization, so it's nice. I did junior B before and kind of did a little stuff with the older kids, but now it's nicer to be working with the 15, 16-year olds that are actively trying to get better, actively trying to play junior. And a lot of them are happy to, after practice, or text me or call me, just questions that you don't get to ask, or you can't really Google, right? Like, how'd you do this, or what'd you do this? Or when in practice I try to show them things that you need to have this skill. Like, it
Ooh,
isn't so much about
thank
shooting the
God.
puck 100 miles an hour. It's
Mhm.
this is how you soft chip a puck, and this is how you tape to tape pass. Because having the essential skills now, we can all skate a million miles an hour in U8 and U17. But if you can't make a tape shape pass, or you can't put a puck into an area and have someone skate into it, you're going to have very little success. So work on all the little things that, like the Dave Anderchucks and the Corey Stillmans and those players that I got to play with, the things that we worked on for hours, we do it in our limited time at the end of practice. We'll always work on something that's an essential skill. And a lot of them reach out to me to talk about, not so much skill related, but what'd you do when you're my age, and now they get to find out when I was their age, I didn't do enough. So I think it's pretty cool now that when moving forward with my groups of teens, to say, hey, yes, enjoy your summers, be at the lake, be doing roller hockey, but you do need to work out if you want to make major junior. You got to be in shape, especially now with the cameras and the fitness testing and all the different speed testing, all the stuff they do now. You can't hide, so you've got to be in tip top shape, and you got to have a great attitude, and you need to be prepared, and you definitely need to be on time. So it's all that stuff that I try to preach, just the little things that always make a difference, um, and give back as much as I can to the community when people need help, when other teams need, people to run the benches, or the U18s need help on the ice. Whatever I can do in the community to help out, we try to do as best we can and kind of interact, and hopefully the groups that we can mentor and help and coach then get a chance to move on and play some even junior A Western League. Obviously, everybody's goal is to play in the NHL, but if I can get kids one level ahead, one step at a time, it's fantastic. It's a pat on my back to be able to help them.
That's amazing. It's invaluable. And that's really what it's all about. So thank you for doing that and helping our future generations. It's incredible.
Yeah, it's especially with now with like Sierra and I were kind of talking about it before here, how AI is slowly taking over, and you know those moments that you talked about, how to shoot a puck, how to make a wrist shot, or how to, like, those little things that not necessarily a computer or learning online can teach you, right? So those one-on-one mentorships with the players can definitely help, and I think that's really awesome. Um, how do you approach managing player-parent relationships and fostering like the supportive professional dynamic with the team?
So I try to keep the parents separate as best I can. I want the boys to be understanding that they can ask the same questions that their mom and dad can at this age. So
But
why is a 16-year-old's mom asking me why they aren't playing? So
yeah, and
I
that's
want
something I had
to
to
hear
deal
that
with.
from the boy.
Yeah,
Yeah, I want to hear that from the athlete, and then I want the athlete to go home and tell the folks, well, this is what he said, and this is why. Okay, then if it becomes an issue, then we can have a meeting with the president of the organization if there's an issue. But I think at this level, you need to prepare yourself, much like Mark Habscheid preparing me for torts. I want to prepare these young athletes for the next coach, and I want them to understand that you have to be someone that can go and say, hey, coach, what's going on? What can I do? What happened last game? Why did I sit? The beauty of it is it's all on video in our league, and I can say, hey, you know what? I love that you came to talk to me. I'll see you tomorrow. You go watch the video. I'll watch the video. You watch it with your parents, so everybody's on the same page. If there's an issue, you make your notes, I'll make mine, and then I'll show you why. Okay, so it's fantastic. We have such great, what we have at our fingertips now with the video and the replay and all the stuff. Now we can watch it, and I can go and say, hey, this is why you sat. Okay, so even though mom and dad are upset, this is why. And I told you several times. Now, I showed you on the video on Tuesday last week. You did it again this Friday. Okay, we need to continue working on it. But at some point, there has to be a little lesson learned, right? Another one of the things where I'm still learning patience with youth. But that being said, the coaches I had demanded everything that you could give. So I don't take excuses. I don't take tardiness. We work together and we always make sure that everybody's on the same page and we're getting better as a group. And I love it when the kids come to me so I can show them the little things. I'll watch a full game with the kid and say, hey, this is what you need to change. This is what when you think the Vancouver Giants are here to watch you, this is what you need to do so that they are happy with what they saw. You know, it's just the little things, and the kids don't understand at 15, 16 what they're doing
Yeah.
wrong. So for me to be able to help them and go through video with them and show them exactly, and it's not on a whiteboard, it's watching yourself. So I love helping them. Anybody, I'll never turn down a kid for help if they want video, if they want to go through the games, because that's to me is what I can give back to make sure that they become better players. And obviously that'll be for them to move on. They'll always remember those little things because they got it from me, that I probably got it from Torts. So if it came from Torts, it probably works or
That's
worked.
great. No, I totally agree, and I think that's something. I used to coach high school football, so just trying to make sure that we're on the same page. Me, the athlete, is on the same page. That way, we can talk with the parents afterwards. Because a lot of the times, these parents they think their athletes are the world class or the best player on the field or on the ice, right? So being able to communicate with both of them and make sure they understand what is it that they need to do to get better to help the team, because ultimately it's a team sport and we need to work together to make sure that we win together ultimately. So that's awesome. Is there anything else that you want to say? So I kind of started this platform just to kind of get people to know, how has sports improved their lives? How has it made them better? Or it's not always about winning or losing, but it's about learning the discipline, learning how to be better people, how to be a better teammate, how to be a better parent, how to be a better friend. How has sports impacted you in a positive way, Nick?
Yeah, and that's just like you said, the group aspect and the learning from different people. But that's one of our philosophies with my group is, did you hold the door for the lady behind you at the grocery store? You
Yep.
know, did you cut somebody off in traffic? Like, you never know what someone's going through on a daily basis. You know, don't throw something out the window. Like, let's always be working on becoming better people. You're going to become a better athlete just by coming to the rink and putting your work boots on. I promise you that. But when you leave the rink, how are you acting? How are you acting at school? How are you treating the kids in your class? How are you treating the teachers? So, and I'm learning too, right? Because I'm not to say I'm perfect. I'm the judge of how we should treat people, but I can try to help them, and in helping them, I help myself. So that's one of our main philosophies here is, yes, become better players, but become better teammates and become better people in the community. And when we go, go out in the community and go to restaurants, is your hat on backwards? Are your shoes done up? How are you acting? How is the person that served us our meal today going to react when we leave? Are they going to say that was a respectful group, or are they going to be negative and think that we had a bunch of clowns in there joking around and making a scene? So that's all stuff that I learned from Mark Habscheid in those early days of junior, that it impacts every part of life. Just like, I understand that it's changed, and there is a little more laxability in moving on in life. But you go for a job interview, are you wearing a t-shirt, or did you put on a suit and a tie? What are you wearing? Are you wearing shoes, or are you sandals? Are you able to take your hat off at your grandma's house? Just do things that I mean, we grew up with in the 80s and 90s that I still think are
Yeah.
still, it's still part of a respect thing growing up. And that is the main thing. When I see my young players at the golf course, how are they interacting with the person at the cashier? Right? It's got to be polite and respectful, and as long as they're doing those things, that they're gonna then, regardless if it's in sport or in life, what it is, if you've got that little bit of basis for respect and the way you treat people, you're always going to have a step above, because the person is treated well is going to treat you back and see and entertain while you're there. So that's one of our main things, is continue to become better people, always treat our families, always treat our staff, treat everybody with respect. And at the end of the day, we had a successful year because we all came together and we all learned and became that group doing good things together. And I think just that's like how that's impacted my life. This is how it's impacted my life now, is teaching my daughter the things I teach, my young athletes, and teaching all the people around me, like, my nieces and nephews, little things that I got to learn through sport, through big time athletes, through, junior B players, through, it doesn't matter, but you learn something from everybody, and just being able to give that back. It's hard to put, a price on those stories, and on the education you received, and trying to be every day a better person myself. Right. So, I couldn't be more happy with the opportunities and career I had, because of the career and opportunities it's given me post game, and given me an opportunity to meet so many people and have so many relationships, and, continue learning every day. So that's how it's impacted my life. I mean, got to meet you guys. It's great. Hadn't played sports, would never meet you guys, right? You get an opportunity every day because of something you did in the past, but you can also close the door by something you did in the past. So you have to keep that in mind moving forward. And especially for the young kids, like, we're not all going to be McDavid. Unfortunately, 90% of us probably not going to be McDavid. So let's make sure we're doing things that we can do to become an athlete and a better athlete, maybe on that fourth line role, because that's probably better chance than, being the best player on the planet. So just little things. It's and being a parent and being able to give back some of the stories, and the just, like, the time management stuff to my little girl. That's impactful to me. And, having friends everywhere, that's really the best part of life.
No, it really is. And, those McDavids, those Drysidles, those players do the same thing, right? They're respectful. They do all these things as well. So, what a better way than to learn, not just from those players, but from people like you, from parents, and from mentors, from coaches. That's why I have a lot of respect for coaches and teachers. I was able to have a chance of being in a teacher assistant, football coach, and being able to mentor kids and help them make sure they better themselves in life. There's nothing out in the world that I'd rather do than do those things. So, and we really appreciate you, Nick, and we definitely hope to catch up again sometime here soon, and continue doing an amazing job that you're doing with the community, and with the kids and mentoring. And thanks again, Nick. I really appreciate it. Anything, Sierra?
Next time you're in South Florida, let us know.
Yeah, for sure. Try to get together, grab a beer, a dinner, or something, and hang out for a bit, get to know you guys a bit. So appreciate having me
Definitely.
on. Been a pleasure. So nice to chat with you guys, and yeah, we'll see you guys soon.
All right,
Like I
take care.
always
Thank
say,
you.
one shift at a time, one period at a time, one game at a time. Let's go.